Joe, with Katase in the interview about 7, kind of the big news thing that we got out of that, I guess, is the scale of the episodic structure they're going for with 7's remake.
Yeah,
which we never really knew ahead of time.
Yeah, well, we kind of did. That's what's. I think what's weird is that Square Enix has known what this is and just hasn't been able to convey it in a way that was super clear to people, I think. Because when you say this is an episodic series, people
think
in
2
North
to 3
America,
hours.
yeah, I mean, they think like Telltale or Don't Nod or something like that. So they had said like, oh, these are going to be full size games, but then again, you mean like, okay, so what do you mean by full size?
Yeah.
So the clarification we got is that like, think of them as each one like an entry in the Final Fantasy 13 saga. Like
I was surprised actually to hear that, because even knowing that, them using the word episodic and knowing that they didn't really mean it the way that we do.
They mean multi-part in the same way that 13 was a multi-part.
Yeah, and I did that. To me, it was like, oh, so it is that big, because you're just like sitting there like, oh gosh, I hope they don't split it up with like 10 hours here, 10 hours,
Yeah,
So it was refreshing to hear that was exactly what they meant.
Yeah. Though they did not specify the number, like there were 3 13 games, but they didn't say, oh yeah, there are 3 7 games.
That seems reasonable. I think they could squeeze it into 3. I would hope.
They didn't confirm it, but I mean, like if I had to bet, I'd say it's a 3 episode thing. Yeah.
Right. They seem very aware of fans being worried about them changing things. Katase was even joking because I thanked him for his work on 7 because I'm such a huge fan. And he's like, oh, I hope you aren't one of those fans that's going to be pissed about everything that we change.
Yeah, I remember that.
I believe I told him to go nuts.
Yes, you did. That all his fault if you don't
so blame Hanson if they do crazy
I'm sure he was
stuff.
really listening, caring about this idiot's opinion. But I mean, connecting back to 15 a little bit, was one of the people that we interviewed, and there's a video interview with him on the site, and he's an art director. One of 3 on 15 is Naora-san. And he goes back to working on 6. He worked on 7, and talking to that guy about his work on 7 was a real highlight of my life, because we were playing through 7 with a game club, which is entirely disconnected, by the way. When we started that game club, we didn't know we were going to be going to Square Enix.
Yeah.
But asking so many questions of the game club on this podcast about like, what's the deal with all those giant hands in Midgar? What's going on with it? And then literally sitting next to the person, he's like, hello, I designed the background art for Midgar.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
If you have any questions, I can answer them for you.
It's amazing. And so I asked him about the hands. He's like, I don't know. We were just having fun. And then I asked him about all the graffiti. I'm like, what's with that graffiti? What were you guys trying to spell where you wrote like Averil? And he's like, oh, that was the art director at the time. He did all the graffiti work in Midgar. So I don't know anything about that. But it was incredibly satisfying to get like really specific about the background art in Final Fantasy VII. Like there's a moment where I was praising him for when you see the coral reactor for the first time. It's like this beautiful hill. I think we talked about it in the game club. And you go up over the hill, and then like the next screen, the sun has like a slight green haze, and it's like, what's going on here? And the next screen is just like blast wide shot of the coral reactor. And I was talking about how much I love that reveal, and he was so excited that I noticed that he like shook my hand. He's like, "Oh my God, thank you so much for calling that out."
I think they were like, people don't notice this stuff, and I think we do.
It's a great example just of there's so many legendary developers over there, and it's just being able to praise these people in person. I don't think they realize the impact they've had on the world. So trying to shove a little bit of that down their throats was my overall mission.
Well, and then that is something that's super interesting too, just because like I feel like at that studio there is an abnormal number of like old guard who are like still there. I mean, obviously they, like there aren't tons and tons, but like people like Naora who have been there for so long, Katase who's been there for so long, Tokita who's been there for so long.
There are 5 people still working at Square Enix that worked on the first Final Fantasy. Yeah, which is pretty impressive. Well, that was such a small team.
Yeah, and so long ago.
Yeah, talking about like the talent on that team. One of the people that we talked to, and I don't think we've posted much from the interview yet, is Chiba, who's directing Chiba-san. Who's directing World of Final Fantasy, that upcoming game. And he worked on stuff in 7. So picking his brain, he's like, yeah, let's see, I animated all of Yuffie and Vincent. It's like, what a weird specific thing.
Yeah.
Well, but then he also, the big thing is that he was a big designer on the Gold Saucer. So I believe we talked a lot about the Gold Saucer. Are we still planning on posting some of that?
We'll see what we can get up on that.
Okay. Yeah. I would really love to, because it was a fun chat with him about that world. Also,
it might not be part of our official month of coverage, but we'll try and get something.
There's some little nuggets and blowouts that we still have after the month of coverage is over. Also, real quick before we get back to 15, there's an interesting little note from Takeda, who worked on the first Final Fantasy, where he was talking about the origins of the entire series. And he said, the way he framed it was really fascinating to me, where he said that, well, there was Dragon Quest or Dragon Warrior, but that was basically just Japanese Ultima. And all we did for the Final Fantasy formula is take that and then add like a movie culture tone to it. A more Hollywood-focused vibe on top of that Japanese Ultima, which was Dragon Quest, and then that's Final Fantasy. And I never framed it that way before, but it's really interesting to hear this old-timer say that.
Yeah.